Whatever, let's just do it. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Surprising drunk girls with puppies.
These are all mine.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna name this one Peaches.
My mommy lets me have 2 puppies for breakfast.
God damn it, put me down, put me down.
Yeah.
Oh!
Welcome to the Thanksgiving edition of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Hector Longo, Bill Bryant, and you here on Saturday morning, November 24th. Hoping you had a phenomenal Thanksgiving, whether that involved being outdoors for Thanksgiving football or having played it on that Wednesday, however it came out. I hope your turkey came out great. We got a number of great games to talk about. 6 Thanksgiving Day games. I guess the headline, the best game of the day of the week, as was predicted. Methuen-Drake turned out to be everything you'd hoped for and more, as the Rangers pull off a 26-20 victory on a night that was probably, as it turns out, was probably colder than Thanksgiving Day.
No, it wasn't. No,
I don't know.
Thanksgiving was bitter.
I mean, it was cold.
Thanksgiving morning was bitter. It got cold late at night, later towards the end of that. The Wednesday night games, it did nothing to match Thursday morning. Thursday morning was brutal.
Where were you on Thursday?
I was at Masco and Everett on Thursday morning, and it was freezing in Boxford.
Windy?
Yeah, it was one of those days where if you didn't have anything in your face
you felt it.
Yeah.
It was.
So, yeah, as cold as I was Wednesday night at Andover, North Andover, it was worse.
You were right. So, was this a special reunion with the folks?
I miss DJ Perry. No, seriously. I got a call about 4 o'clock. Dave Willis was sick, couldn't do it, so the Trib asked me to do it. I was sitting around my house doing basically nothing, and my wife wanted me out, so that was that. She booted me out, and I went to the game.
I told Tim I was reading this article, and it was really well written. Wait a second.
Obviously, quality editing at the folks at the Eagle Tribune.
It was, and I went back to the
Thank
top.
God for editors.
I said the Hall of Fame legend is back to writing again.
He had the opportunity to dog him, and he sucks up instead.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, because the irony there is me sucking up. Yeah. I predicted. I was the one that said I thought Thursday was warmer because of the sun. And the reason why I wasn't sure is because I did not leave my house on Thursday.
Yeah.
I have never seen.
neither.
I have never seen football players move so fast. Watching Everett run to the locker room at halftime. Okay. If they had done that on the field, they really could have beaten us up on Thursday morning. It was brutal. But
so, what was faster, the players running to the locker room, or the fans running to their cars?
Oh, it was honest to God. The 17 people who had the guts to stick around after the pregame ceremonies were quick to the cars at halftime.
And that was one of the things I kept sticking with, was by moving it to Wednesday, yada, 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 the tradition, all that. But the Methuen-Drake game, there was a really solid number of fans. And at the end of the day, the kids don't quit. They don't opt out of the game. They show up. Whatever.
Yeah.
They have to. It's the senior day. It's the fans. And that part of it wasn't lost by moving the game to Wednesday night.
Well, I didn't want to get caught up in that big, controversial, do we move it, do we not move it, honest to God, because I don't know if there are a ton of people who really would fight for it. Honestly.
Would fight for it to be Thursday?
Yeah.
Well, you saw it. You saw it with a couple schools. The Braintree, was it Braintree?
Right, yeah, it was Braintree when they put up the stink and moved it back. But I'm wondering if that's a real loud minority, as opposed to the majority of people. And
I think the Methuen-Drake, it's got one of the longer. There's other teams.
Yeah.
It's one of the longer standing. They're right now. It's one game separates the win losses. The two towns have there wasn't one peep. Right. Out of either town. I was like, oh, okay, let's move this to Wednesday night. And they traveled well. They had a couple hundred people on their side, and smart choice.
Andover, North Andover was kind of lurking in the background, seeing how it was going to play out, but quietly behind the scenes, you had a lot of on both sides saying, "Oh, we'll be okay if they move it to Wednesday."
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think EJ took a beating for saying we'll play wherever. Or, there was something, I'm sure it's online, and I don't really follow that stuff, but about him saying they would play on 495 and him taking a little grief for that. I was stunned by how good the crowd was at Andover North, Andover wins, and I was expecting to be able to pull right up and pick my own parking spot.
How many would you say?
Well, they didn't open the visitor sideline, the visitor stands, but the home stands are pretty full, and that's a long.
Yeah, that is.
That's a long
It's the
set
full
of stands.
field.
Yeah,
It's the full field.
And now there were 2 bands there, so that took up some spot, but. There were kids there. There were adults there. There were alums there. It was again surprisingly good, Tim. I can't put in numbers, like I said.
I mean, because you had some you had them saying what would the paper say, like 400 at, there was not 400
Right.
at Methuen Drake.
Well,
What would you say realistically? 400.
I would have said 300 to 400.
300 to 400. Okay.
See, that's like
all right.
the weird thing about that is, I spent decades, and I think I tweeted this last week, lying to my bosses about how many people were there.
Yeah.
It'd be like Russ Conway would sit in the newsroom and go, "All right, Mike, what'd you have at Andover Central? Hector, what'd you have at Haverhill and what?" And I'd be like, 1,500. Yeah,
So
sure.
you're lying to get the top story on the front page.
Well, every year the Trib would Russ would do that one story. He'd go to Lawrence and Lowell and do that one story that said. 63,000 people went to Thanksgiving football games on this day.
Yeah.
And so, when Billy Burt would say 2,500 at my game, Russ, I would have to lie and go, well, yeah, at least 1,500.
At least 2,600 at my game.
I think and honest to God, it was, the numbers are going down and down. And I had this conversation, it's funny, I ran into Chuck Adamopoulos yesterday, of all things.
At the track?
No, not at the track. I ran into him. But, the crowds are disappearing, and you just wonder. And I talked to another coach at another time I ran into, and you wonder how much of a stink there would be if you got rid of the game statewide and you just did it like other sports, where they finished at the beginning of November and you played a couple playoff games, and that was that. If they just treated football like the other sports, I think you might get some Braintree style feedback for 2 to 3 years, and then I don't think anybody would miss it. I really don't.
Once somebody does it,
the kids would miss it, but
once somebody does it, it's going to be a snowball.
Yeah.
Once the one program or the one league does it, whether it be Massachusetts or just in the region in New England itself, because it's huge in Maine too. It's huge. I mean, it's
and I can hear people arguing at me and saying how nuts I am about the tradition, and I'm just not sure if it's there anymore. And I'm wondering if it could help programs to shorten the season. Do kids not want to make that commitment into November? The borderline football kids, where you get them back if it's a regular season, just a regular length football season. I just wonder,
what do you think on that, Bill?
I don't know.
He's an old school guy who loved Thanksgiving game. I got it.
I think it's
that.
less of the opponent as much as the game. I just the seniors that they get to go out and play their last game, and the Thanksgiving Day game almost becomes like a Super Bowl. And I'll give you an example: Chelmsford beating Billerica. That's a huge win for them.
And by the way, we've been having a huge little lovers quarrel off the air before the game. I'm saying, listen.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Chelmsford, that's a big win for the Chelmsford program. There was no reason that was full strength on full strength.
3 out of 4 of their last 4 games they won.
And they won. So for a team like that to keep fighting with the beatings that they took, and they weren't losing 14-13 every game. They were taking beatings every game. And for them to come back, they had some issues with the coach mid-season, but for them to keep fighting and then to pull off a Thanksgiving. Now, did Billerica, Coach Duane's basically said, the better team won. We didn't show up. We didn't play as we set out to play. But for Chelmsford to end their season, for Chris, is it Rabias?
I don't know.
We'll go with Rabias. Chris Rabias, the quarterback, to end his career with a win over Billerica in that storied series again, where Bill Ricca has beat up on them the last 5-6 years, even though Chelmsford owns the series pretty steadily. They've been getting beat up the last 5-6 years. It's a big win, and that's where, to me, Thanksgiving can still mean something.
As well as the kids that graduated last year, the year before, to be able to come back and be able to kind of catch that game. I know in Methuen there was about 30, and this isn't an exaggerated number. There's about 30 returnees, kids in last year's team and the year before that, kids that are still playing football.
My only thing about that, Bill, is if you played it November 1st, if you played Drayton on November 1st on a Friday night, do you get a better crowd? Do you get a different crowd? Do you get a larger, a smaller crowd? Do the kids care less if Methuen is 5-3 and Drayton's 4-4 and they're not neither team is making the playoffs? Do you get less of a does it mean less to them, or does it mean just as much to them, to the seniors playing in their last game? I realize it's Thanksgiving, and I realize that the phone still rings out the hook. Who won this game?
Yep.
But are those people who are complaining at the games? Is my question.
No.
This is one where I would actually, we'll give you the phone number, 978-659-0072. 978-659-0072. Let us know if you've got any opinions on the Thanksgiving games. We'll throw that out to you. We got a lot to cover in terms of the Thanksgiving games. We've got
2 Super Bowls ahead, too.
2 Super Bowls ahead to talk about. You've got who we got coming on?
Jamie Pote of the, I'm not sure if the Tewksbury Wilmington Town Crier. He's been covering Tewksbury sports.
We'll say the Town Crier.
Yeah, and he's one of these guys that works for everybody. He works for the Little Sun. He works for the Herald. He works for everybody.
He works wherever the work is.
And he knows Tewksbury football as well as anybody.
Is his son on the team?
That's not named Elwood. I thought he said it was his nephew.
Nephew. Okay, there is a Pote on the team.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe he said it was his nephew that's on the team. So, terrific guy. And like I said, if you want to talk Tewksbury, he's your guy to talk to. So
we are efforting as well to get the Chelmsford coach on. Still working it. We'll work that during the break. But again, congratulations to the Lions. Congratulations to all the teams that won. We got Methuen 26-20, North Andover 41-27. Score a little deceiving. It was definitely.
It was 34-0.
Yeah, it was definitely over. But hey, listen, kudos to Andover for keeping fighting.
Yeah, and I finally get to see my man Seamus Florio. Talk about a kid with a vast array of onside kicks. He tried everything, and I think 1 or 2 of them worked. He had as good an arsenal of onside kicks as I've ever seen in high school.
No kidding.
He had the bloop. He had the dribble fly. He had the up the middle avalanche kind of kick. He had it was pretty awesome to watch his array of kicks. And I was very sad to
tough fight for kicker of the week, though.
Yeah, no,
I mean, Kevin Hennessy from Chelmsford, two field goals.
Very sad to note, though, my run of sideline catches came to an end as I had a gross drop on a. There was a blocked PAT by North Andover, and Jake McElroy scurried to pick up the ball. He rolled right. He saw me wide open on the sidelines, and Longo dropped it badly. E.J. Perry, 4, the Boston College quarterback, let me have it after that. Good for him. He let me know that he and everyone else, all the
kind of your therapy right now.
All the other Andover alums saw the drop on the sideline. Coming off the big catch I had earlier in the year up in New Hampshire, I was flying high. I was calling for it when he was rolling. I'm like, Jake, I'm wide open. Jake, I'm wide open. Carl Russo's standing right next to me, going, he's going to throw it. And he threw it.
So who in New Hampshire can attest to this catch?
If you watch the Merrimack Bishop Girton film, you see one of the great one-handed catches of our time.
We will get on the huddle.
Notebook in the left hand, catch with the right hand. It was awesome. Yesterday I had 2 hands. Wednesday night I had 2 hands free, and it was just an utter awful drop. He hit me in the wrong spot, right in the hands.
We're going to have to get an L22 Lou on the breakdown of the Bishop Girton Merrimack catch.
He's HBJ.
Jake's best throw of the night, and I blew it. So I'm still a little hurting for that. So I guess maybe that's why my feelings have been hurt all week. So
big
just
win,
to let you guys know.
Big win for Lowell, 24-8 over Haverhill. Again,
I'm going to say that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, only because Lowell struggled 2 weeks before against Masconomet, beating them 14-13. And Tim O'Connor usually has the Hillies ready to go on Thanksgiving. I know it was a 10-8 game at one point. Too much Brendan Ty.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's has been a dynamic performer.
He's only a junior. I thought he was a senior.
He's a junior.
Now, that will be interesting to see. And I know we have one of the parents here in the booth. You know, when they sort out those Merrimack Valley Conference large school MVPs as they do, you know, Connor obviously will be in the conversation, and Ty had a phenomenal year at Lowell.
He definitely did.
So those are two guys.
Shane Elwood had you talk about large, small, right?
Yeah. No, on the small side, obviously you have the North Andover kids, McElroy, and that group, the Souza, Watson, and then you have Shane.
The North Andover guys
Conley.
Cancel each other out, though.
Yeah, I know, but so don't the Tewksbury guys. Conley,
yeah, it's true.
Conley and Aylward,
Yeah.
And Kelly, three. The Conley kid has 30-plus wins, 31 career wins, something like that, 32 career wins, whatever that number is. I'm sure Jamie will let us know about that when we have him on. He's had an amazing career. So, it's been, like I said, but going back to the lodge.
A lot of fun conversations to be had.
That one will be an interesing vote in the lodge, just because, you know, Central, I don't know if they had a dynamic performer.
We were talking about that, at Al's,
AJ,
I might have said their depth across the board was solid, but they didn't have one specific kid.
They haven't. You know, obviously they didn't have a Brett Edwards or a kid like that. I mean, Caginelli had a great year on the offensive side.
Yeah,
but wasn't he hurt though?
No, that was Houchen.
Houchen, that's right.
Was hurt, and he, you know, Houchen might have been their best defender coming in.
Yep.
Houchen had a great game yesterday.
Yeah, right. He came back. That's good to see.
Great story.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, you know, those sort of games, Central Catholic 39, Lawrence 12, where they hand out the MVP, and you know, to see what it meant to the Methuen kids to get the trophy at the end of the game. It's a dicey argument. It really is. It's I completely understand. I don't like to be Mike Greenberg in this situation in terms of, you know, playing Switzerland, but I do see where everybody's coming from on this. I see your point is absolutely on point in terms of just getting the schedule into a spot where every week means something. There's no breaks. You're not screwing with the hoop season or the winter sports season. Not getting kind of split minds as you get later in the season. But then again, these guys make the Super Bowl run. Then that would create almost like a bowl-like break. Yeah. Right.
Well, but I'm just saying, if you know, it's a tough thing.
It does, yeah.
Because there are teams in New Hampshire that do that, you know, Tim. There are 3 games in New Hampshire. 1 was canceled, but there are teams that end on November 1st and come back and play Thanksgiving. And I remember Salem used to do that when they played Haverhill in the Border Bowl years and years ago. And that's why I couldn't remember who Haverhill used to play. But, you know, those Salem kids would have weeks off.
Yeah.
And that's where the mechanics of the thing just don't fit. You know, there's really no good way to keep playing Thanksgiving and have a legitimate playoff system.
That's probably the best statement of the whole conversation. You can't have the best of both worlds. I think they're trying, and that's where things are getting lost.
And the coaches, honestly, when they do this, they're trying to serve so many masters. They're serving the Thanksgiving master. They're serving the coaches of the bad school, or the lesser schools that don't make the playoffs or lose early, and they're
local rivalries.
And they're serving the Thanksgiving, you know, the crowd, the Thanksgiving football crowd. That matters, and you just can't do it. You have to make some kind of decision.
So let me ask you this. And I'm not going to bring up anything specific because, you know, I'm not trying to step on my own toes here. But who really should be making the decisions? As far as changing rules, you know, you hear about federation rules for referees next year. You hear about the playoff schedule. And now that my son's playing high school football, I have more of an insight on the behind-the-scene conversations. And what I keep potentially hearing is it doesn't matter what the coaches vote. They still kind of don't have as much of a say. Is that true? Like that part of it, I'm a little lost.
Well, I think they have their say, but honestly, you know, because they've come up with the proposal. This is the playoff proposal originated from the mass football coaches.
Okay.
You know, that's where that comes from. It's just like I said, there are so many masters to be served. There are coaches who don't want this. There are coaches who do want this. I'm not sure if you know what I'm saying. There's no universal thought on this.
Okay.
I think there are, and I hate to make an age issue, but there are younger coaches who say, Thanksgiving, big deal. You know, really.
Gotcha.
There are, but there are other coaches who, you know, there are teams prepared this week or this past 2 weeks for the game of the year.
Right.
You know, they really did, and staffs bought into it, coaches bought into it, but there are schools that just didn't.
Do you think the more we get the older crew of coaches retire and you get new blood in here, that's gonna?
Well, I think
or has the new blood played in those games and still wants to keep it going? It's tricky.
Yeah, it is, because, you know, I look at it this way. There are you have to look at your program, okay? Lawrence High's numbers weren't big Wednesday night. Their numbers were down. They lost kids through the year. You know, I talked to Mike Leal, a central assistant, a few days ago. It was tough to get those kids back from the St. John's loss, to come back and want to play on Thanksgiving after, you know, such a big loss. It was tough to get them to focus and come back. And the idea that you're only going to, you know, it's your last game and the seniors, this is it, and that only goes so far, I think, these days. And
all right, here comes the big Yahoo father Methuen guy. That was not an issue on Wednesday night for Methuen Drake.
Well,
because we had.
Well, it was not an issue
you
after
had Lexington,
the
then you had Reading.
Foxborough game either.
You had Lexington, you had Reading, and then you had Drake. And as you know, as a fan of football and who's, you know, I want to see my kid have quality opponents. I don't want to see him, you know, play a dog last couple games, because that means nothing as far as that's a stat builder that's false. To see 3 solid games like Lexington, Reading, and Drake, it just goes to show that the coaches are still able to have that say. But you're right, they do. Some teams.
Well, Methuen had a little something different to play for in their heads, though, in terms of the chip on their shoulder, in terms of the season, in terms of what people thought of them, in terms of bettering
but
last
that's
year's.
Manufactured by the coaches, though. That's the coaches instilling that belief in their heads and that next goal. I mean, you have to set goals, especially for high school kids who can't see 3 seconds in front of themselves. As a coaching staff, you have to be believed and you have to be supported as far as setting those goals and milestones. And absolutely, you're right. But for the seniors, you got to win the game. For the juniors and sophomores, you know, it's you know, reaching that next goal.
Well, Bill, when I was sitting in the cool guy seat last week and we had Tom Ryan on, he talked about their record. It was 7-3 at the time.
Yeah.
Being a legit 7-3, and the teams they played. Sometimes those. So Methuen kind of had the perfect storm.
I agree.
A perfect storm. First of all, the rivalry is huge.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Methuen Drake is one of those rivalries where, like I said, I'm guessing if you played that on November 1st, it would be a good crowd as well. But let's go to Tewksbury and Wilmington.
Yeah. Yep.
2 towns that really don't get along well. They play in everything. They make sure they play in everything. The old timers in each town want to play each other and everything. And you're playing on that Wilmington squad. You know, the 2-8 Wilmington squad against a Super Bowl bound Tewksbury team. Are you buying in? Because I don't care if it's my last game as a senior. I know I'm sitting around for a couple of weeks ready to get stomped.
I'm saying, Coach, why did we move it to Wednesday night?
Yes. So, and talking to people there, the Wilmington crowd wasn't into it. Yeah. So, maybe a game like that's even better served on November 1st, the last game of the regular season. Look, there are so many factors involved. The fact that all these leagues have chosen to splinter into 5-team divisions, so the first team gets. First 2 teams can still get a playoff bye. Instead of getting 2 playoff teams in an 11-team division, we get 4 playoff teams and a 6 and a 5. That's like the first thing that just sent everything going, because now, like, Tewksbury can't play Wilmington in a 7 or 8 game season because they have their league, games, and so, like I say, there's so much that goes into the whole dynamic of this thing.
Yeah, you're right.
And I just think you try to serve so many masters and it just doesn't work. And, you know, they'll throw the whole thing into the washing machine again and spin it out and come up with 4 Super Bowls and 6 championship games. I hate the term Super Bowl, by the way, too. Can't we all just put that away and go with state championship games?
Yeah, I agree.
Can we all just throw the Super Bowl thing bugs me. I don't know why, and it just bugged me this week. I don't know why.
All right, let's take a quick break. What time do we tell Jamie?
Jamie's ready to go.
He's at the go?
Yeah.
All right,
so.
we will effort Jamie Potes from the Town Crier talk about the Tewksbury State Championship game coming up. We'll do that right after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.
Social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man, Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Huge shout out once again to our graphics guy extraordinaire, Chris Calisi. Another phenomenal job on the score graphics this week with the Thanksgiving theme with the turkeys, and great job again, Chris. Really appreciate all the work all season, and again to Val Davila and Davila and DeFusco Insurance, huge thank you for being the title sponsor of the show.
Can I say turkey placement is so good here? Last week, like the Channel 9 weather, I'm watching it, and the turkey was like, it was so out of place. Like, who does their graphics? Our guy,
Right?
Our guy rocks.
His stuff is no joke.
Yeah, no, he's an award-winning graphic designer, and somehow still wants to do some work for us. So he's a huge MVC guy, huge Central Catholic grad. He was wanted to cover some of the Central Catholic games. He's just a really good guy, great family, and a huge shout out to Jen Hamilton as well. Huge supporter throughout the whole season of MVC Gridiron Weekly. Again, you're buying, you're selling, whatever your real estate needs are. Jen Hamilton at Keller Williams Realty, just an outstanding resource for you. She's an award winner, both on volume and total sales numbers. She gets the job done. So call her at 508-954-7941. 508-954-7941. Jen Hamilton, Realtor, Keller Williams Realty. She called today for a free assessment and no commitment estimate. She will get the job done for you. Again, huge shout out to Jen Hamilton for all her support. We have online with us now making his debut on MVC Gridiron Week. We're thrilled to have him. Jamie Pote from... Now, Jamie, it's Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, Hector Longo. Is it the Tewksbury-Wilmington town crier, or is it just Tewksbury?
Tewksbury and Wilmington.
Okay, Tewksbury-Wilmington. So, a huge thank you for coming on the show.
Good, no problem.
Jamie, I've been pumping your tires, so you better be good, brother. I'm letting you know now.
How you doing, Hector?
The pressure is on, bro. The pressure is on.
Jamie, you've been covering high school sports for a long time for a lot of different publications and online print wherever the job needs to be done. Tell us about what you've seen from this Tewksbury team this year, specifically in terms of, just in the context of this program.
The program's outstanding. This will be their 8th Super Bowl appearance and the 5th time I've seen them in the Super Bowl. Year after year, they're excellent. This year's team, I think, is a little different. Last year, they went to the Eastern Mass final last year, and they had quite the roster, and a lot of those kids are now playing in college. And so I wasn't really sure what to expect out of this year's team. I thought they would be pretty good, but I don't know if anyone expected this going all the way to the Super Bowl.
You've got your stars. You've got Conley. You've got Aylward. You got Kelly. They've got some legit players. Who are those guys that you seeing them week to week that we don't always talk about on the stat sheet that have been the difference makers?
Well, that I think is the key to the whole team. Is they have their four or five guys who are absolutely tremendous, but I think they have about 8 or 9 guys who are, I don't want to say pluggers. I don't want to say it like that, but are just kind of overachievers that are doing very well. So Connor Nugent is certainly one of them on the defensive end. Just the other day at Thanksgiving, he blocked a punt and recovered it in the end zone. He's had a bunch of plays like that throughout the season, recovering fumbles and stuff like that. He's one. I would say Kyle DeRigo, another running back. He didn't start carrying the ball until about game 7 or 8, and the first 2 games he had over 100 yards. And then he adds a lot to that offense. Same thing with Kyle Zervis. He's a senior captain, and he's on both sides of the ball, running the ball and defensively as a cornerback. Colby Wilson's in the secondary. He's had an excellent season. Trace Trant, I'm not sure if you've mentioned him. Both sides of the ball on the offensive line, and both as a linebacker, and sometimes he'll play defensive end. So I'd say those 5 or 6 guys.
Jamie, you've seen it week to week, and I'm amazed at the toughness from the Tewksbury kids. Where does that come from? I think we expected Aylward's athleticism and Conley's leadership in throwing the football, from behind center. Where does the toughness come from out of this group?
I think it's just from the tradition. Every week, I'm trying to. They just have it in that tradition, and I think it comes from the Aylward family. From when it started with Lefty, Brian's father, when he coached, and Brian's similar to Bob but different in many ways, and they just really preach the one play. Give it your all, and then if you get beat, like Brian says, you reset the button and you get back in there, and you fight for that play, and it's the biggest play of the game. And they preach that over and over, game after game, practice after practice, year after year. And I know they have an outstanding dedication to the weightlifting program in the off season. I know all those kids are really dedicated, so I think that's a big part of it as well.
Jamie, I'm going to add to that. I think that's the biggest part of it. Having Coach Ryan come to Methuen, which is where I'm at, and see him over the past 7-8 years try to instill the off-season is really where these games are won. So to see Tewksbury come back after a huge senior class last year, a bunch of kids playing college football, and them come back, I think is a tribute to Coach Aylward and the off-season work that these kids are bought into. How much is that talked about? I mean, you just brought it up, but that was definitely going to be my question. that's something that he does preach, and you can tell throughout all of Tewksbury sports, and Coach Druin is a solid part of why there's so much success. Talk a little bit how much that town embraces that.
Oh, I think that's huge. And I think, and just to bring up your point, I think Methuen hit a grand slam hiring Tommy Ryan. I think he's done an excellent job there. And I'm glad he's very successful there. But I agree. I think the off-season training is a huge part of high school sports, not even just football, but high school sports. And I think it's a big difference between even Tewksbury compared to Wilmington. The last couple of years, Wilmington's not as strong in a lot of their sports, and I think part of it is the off-season programs.
So
lifting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, just I think the off-season programs are a huge part of it. And not even football, but hockey, even basketball. And you can go as far as track as well.
Big shout out to Coach Brian at Elward, 150th win again in the Wilmington victory on Thanksgiving. Also to Shane Elward, who broke the single season receptions record, breaking longtime assistant coach Tommy Bradley's record. He got his 50th on. Three of them on Thanksgiving to break that record. So. Tell us what you have seen and what you in terms of doing your homework ahead of the championship. What's the word on Springfield Central?
Actually, I don't have any word yet.
All right, so
I haven't spoken to Coach Aylward yet. He asked me to call him. I think Sunday or Monday.
That's why we pay Hector the big
go
bucks.
over that.
All right, so Jamie, I just kind of did some research this morning. That's a team that beat St. John's of Shrewsbury to earn the trip here, and they didn't just beat them. They beat the daylights out of St. John's Shrewsbury, who was there last year, state champion last year, and it was the second win over St. John's for them this year. They played them twice. They beat them twice to the tune of like 117-40. It was like a 56-21 game. So, not that Tewksbury's had an easy run through. I mean, I think you can attest to it. They've faced the Wood on the way to the D3 North title and to the Eastern Mass title, knocking off an unbeaten team in Duxbury. Does the defense have one more in them to stop a powerhouse like a Springfield Central that is a 10-1 team that's rolling up points out in Central and Western Mass?
I think if they play like they have in the last, not counting Thanksgiving, that's a little different, but if they play like they have throughout the playoffs, absolutely. I think they do. And I would love to see it. I'm being a homer, but I would love to see it.
Now, I was going to say, you follow them, but you're a fan as well. Have you felt the groundswell support of this team as the season went on? And was there a turning point? Was it the Methuen win? Was there a game that you can point to that made you say, wow, this something special could be brewing there in Tewksbury?
Well, I didn't see the BC High game, and they beat BC High, but then I think it was the week after or the week after that, they lost to North Andover, and North Andover was excellent. But then Tewksbury came back, and they started winning some games, and they haven't lost since, actually, since the North Andover game. But I think I forget who they played after North Andover. That was a big win, I think, just to get their confidence back, because North Andover beat them pretty handily, but they beat them up. And I think that was a big win, and then they started rolling and started playing really well, and their offense started really clicking. And I think they're averaging almost 30 points a game or close to it. And they're playing very well on both sides of the ball. And I think next Saturday is going to be a lot of fun.
So this is probably a taboo question, but I'm going to throw it out there. Okay, 150 wins. He's got one Super Bowl under his belt. Could get the second one this week. Could you make the case, if they were to make this run complete, that Brian's the better coach over Bob?
Oh wow! How can you ask that question?
I'm not going there.
Not going there.
I'm not going there. I only covered Bob 2 years, and I was really young at the time. I covered the 2 years that he came back in '95 and '96. Both years they went to the Super Bowl. And, Bob was outstanding. He was so innovative with offense and the trick plays and all the 1,000 formations, and it was a lot of fun. And those teams were really talented back then, too. And he did a wonderful, wonderful job getting that program back on its feet when he came back. But I'm not touching that one.
All right, I'll ask you another controversial question, though.
Sure.
You're seeing a little bit on Twitter, a little bit on social media, just talking about the two schools and the size of Springfield. How much is that being talked about, honestly, in the town about the basically the Springfield High School is double the size of Tewksbury?
Not too much yet, I don't think. I think it will leading up to it. I don't think anyone really knows anything about Springfield Central because, to be honest, I don't. And I didn't really know much about them besides the scores that I saw, last year and this year.
I saw a stat that there's 900 boys in the school.
Yeah, I did see that.
There's like 800 students, seniors are at Tewksbury High School.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing that kills me, though, is they're a D3 team all of a sudden in Romo. And that's one of the factors that we talked about, Tim, that go into this crazy playoff system of ours,
Well, Coach Aylward, Brian has always preached that, though, about he's taken a lot of pride in that, being that the
size
Tewksbury's being as one of the smallest schools in the MVC, if not the smallest, I think. I forget, compared to Drake. And he takes a lot of pride in that, the David versus Goliath, analogy and going up against teams that have, twice as many kids or significantly more kids to choose from. And I think that's a big motivation for Tewksbury over the years.
Don't they recite that anthem, Jamie, when they get that T tattooed on their arms as part of their the initiation process to the Tewksbury program at age 12? I mean,
say 12-year-old tattoo of the T Redmond.
I mean, honest to God, you have to give it up for the brotherhood that is over there. And like you say, you mentioned Tommy coming to Methuen years ago, and from this side of the river, I always assumed Tommy was just one of those Tewksbury guys. He wore the Tewksbury look so well. And, when he came to Methuen, I'm like, oh, man, how are you going to leave Tewksbury? You've been there your whole life. He goes, nah, I'm from Medford. But he just, it was absorbed so well into that Tewksbury brotherhood. He fit right in, and he's brought a piece of that to Methuen, I think.
Absolutely.
And so it's...
And people have no idea how difficult it is to instill the off-season aspect of high school football. You'll never win a state championship, Hector, if you don't put the work in off-size as a full team. You may have all the skill players. You can have this star, but if from A to Z on that roster do not do the off-season lifting and the conditioning, you can't sustain a full season and beat some of these top teams.
And I mean, it was a non-existent factor almost 20 years ago in terms of the off-season, and now you've got so many distractions, and whether it be whether it be technology, whether it be just social, whether it be other sports, you've got so many distractions to go into it. That's what, to me, makes it all the more impressive that a lot of these programs, Methuen and Tewksbury at the head of that class, are able to really get these kids bought in.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other aspect, too, is the kids today are bigger, faster, stronger than they were 20 years ago, and they're all playing on the turf field. They're all playing mostly spread offense, so it's a different game as well.
Jamie,
than it was 15, 20 years ago.
Where do you stand on the Thanksgiving? We were talking about the Thanksgiving games and the tradition, and should it be, should they be playing Thanksgiving? Where do you stand on the whole topic?
I love the Thanksgiving game, to be honest. I think I like the new playoff system. I think there needs to be some adjustments to it and some changes to it. But it also has taken away from the Thanksgiving rivalries. I mean, just the other day, I know the weather had a lot to do with it, but Wilmington Tewksbury used to average, 3,500, 4,000 people, and I don't even think there was 800 people there.
Now is that okay? Now is that we were also talking about this, Jamie, because Hector was saying he always inflated the numbers for the Tribune. Is that a legit 35, 4,000?
50% rule. 50% rule.
They've had 3,500 games, and back in the I was doing research this week because I did a story. I ranked the top 25 running backs in each town in this past week's football section, and I was doing a lot of research for those stories. And there was one year that they had 10,000 people at a game, He was back in the 70s. But Wilmington Tewksbury's always had a big crowd. But the last couple of years, I'm not sure if it's because Tewksbury's, won 9 in a row over Wilmington, and Wilmington's, kind of had a couple down years. Well, last year they had a real good year, but before that they had a couple down years.
All right.
And the crowd's just not as big as they used to be on Thanksgiving. But I'm a big Thanksgiving fan.
So
I hope they keep it.
You open the door, Jamie. Who are your number ones? I got to know.
Yeah, you kind of buried the lead there. That's a great topic.
Number one, Wilmington's pretty easy. That was Mike Esposito.
I was going to say he's definitely an Italian guy, and he was awesome back in the day. He played in the NFL.
He played
right?
for the Atlanta Falcons, and he set a bunch of records at BC.
Mm-hmm.
And in Tewksbury, I went with Jay Petros, who played in the late. Was the 70s?
Okay.
Mid to late 70s, and he had over like 3,000 yards. And from what I was told, he was tremendous.
Now, where does Elwood fit into this?
Brian, I ranked him 12th, I think, or 13th. 12th, I think. He was a fullback on that team, and they had some really good other running backs who both also made my top 25. But Brian was. Obviously he went to Brown, but he was a two-way player on that first team that won the Super Bowl in '85. So I thought he deserved a lot of credit for that.
Oh man, that team put a hurting on us at Central Catholic back in the day. Those teams, those Bob Ilwood teams back then, it was like 30-0 before you knew it back in the day. I know my sophomore.
Yeah.
I actually get to play. It was so bad, so that was good. But yeah, no. That was interesting. Obviously, I was looking for Mike Esposito. You wouldn't know this, Tim, because it was a long time ago. Wilmington was in the MVC back in the day.
They were.
I know. Well, they were in the MVC when I was in high school.
Okay, yeah. So
and Greater Lawrence.
Yeah, right. Well, they were a little bit shorter, but Wilmington was one of those had a long run before they went to the Cal and then eventually the Middlesex League.
Right.
So
Wilmington was really good in the 60s. And in the 70s in the MVC in football.
Okay.
And then the 80s they tailed off, and then they went to the Cape Ann League in the mid-90s.
Jamie, great job. Really appreciate you coming on. Enjoy reading all your stuff. Now, the top 20, now, has that been published yet? The top 25?
Yeah, the top 25. It's on our website. It's homenewshere.com, and then you just click on sports and then Wilmington Tewksbury.
Awesome.
And that was out. I did a big football section this past week, promoting the Thanksgiving game, and we had features, and I threw that in there. It was something I actually took from the Gloucester Daily Times, had it, and I thought it was a great idea.
Sure.
I'm guessing my man Tom Bradley said to you, "Hey, what about the top 25 receivers? When's that coming?"
Eventually I would like to do quarterbacks and wide receivers, but to be honest, it was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And a ton of work.
It was a lot more than I ever thought, so I'm not sure if I'll do that next year. Maybe skip a year and do it again in 2 years.
It's amazing how history gets away from people unless you've got people keeping books, which is just not a common practice nowadays. So honestly, all kidding aside, that type of work that you did with that article is huge. I know it was a huge undertaking, but
I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
I was just getting you talking about it. I definitely want to check that out. So,
well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, you do great work with the Town Crier, and you're a must follow on Twitter. We really appreciate it. Now we were talking. There's a Pote on the team. That's your nephew?
Yeah, it's my nephew. He plays special teams, and I'm really proud of him. He had his first reception on Thursday, and it was great. I'm really proud of him, and I can't wait to see him step on the field at Gillette on next Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations on that as well. And
thank you very much.
Really appreciate you coming on after the holiday, and it sounds like you got a crowded house there. So we'll...
Yeah, I get Minnie Mouse on for my twin girls.
Well played. Jamie, huge appreciation for you coming on, and congratulations. Hey, listen, you've covered a lot of this team and ridden a lot of the highs and lows. So congratulations on making on you getting to Gillette and getting to cover this team. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I really I had a lot of fun coming on. So thank all of you.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie. We'll talk to you.
All right, Jamie. Good to talk to you.
Yes, you too. Take care, guys.
That's Jamie Poet from the Tewksbury Wilmington Town Crier and many other publications.
Yeah, like I said, he does a ton of work. Works hard.
Yeah.
And a lot. Loves it. Loves being around it, and so it's pretty cool.
And listen, I mean, the Town Crier is one of those old school publications in terms of just the work that they put in, and the work he puts in on sports. Just to me, honestly, I enjoy reading the Town Crier, but the work that he puts in on the sports section sets the tone for the whole paper. Honestly, so great work from him. Listen, I mean, it's exciting to be able to be talking about state championship games at this point. Now, I mean, these are the debates we have, though. Bob versus Brian.
Yeah,
you don't even want to go there, huh?
No, I mean, you feared Bob Elwood back in the day. I can remember, I remember just preparing for those games, and our coaches had their heads spinning, not knowing what was coming. It was. And you got on the field, and
He's just that much of an innovator.
Yeah,
huh?
He had that big of an advantage over teams back in the day, and we weren't by any stretch the greatest coach program in the world, but it was 21-0 before you walked on the field, and then they had such great talent. I remember the Vetchies and the Aylwards. It was quite a time back then, and he just utilized their ability too. It was. He was great guy too. You still see him at games and stuff. He's a really good man. So, and even I know, that translated too when he went up to Nashua and took over the AD's job and coached up there at Nashua. Before he even got there, coaches were calling us on the phone. So, what's this Elwood guy like? I hear so much about him, his coaching style. Is he as good as they say? And New Hampshire coaches wanted to know about it because they'd heard of the legend back in the day about that. So yeah, he was the real deal. Brian's still got a ways to go. Sorry about that. As much as I like BA, he's still got a ways to go.
And at the end of the day, too, a lot of Brian's style is
oh
his
my
dad.
God,
so
yes,
it's hard
absolutely.
to say he's better than his dad.
Right.
Because I know last week's show I wasn't here, and I'm trying to put the show past me. Because,
he wasn't here?
Because you were sitting in my seat.
It's hard to remember where he is or isn't
because
here,
you were
really.
sitting in my seat, and that was just a horrifying... No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I loved how he talked about the gadget plays.
Yeah.
They're not gadget plays for
No.
Tewksbury.
No.
Yeah. They're part of their offense, and I think it's something that they build up during the game that all of a sudden it's a double pass, but it's not hey, we're going to throw this in just for this. This is part of our offense, and teams are going to have to account for this, and I think that's something that Tewksbury's very well known for as well.
But, I brought up the Tewksbury toughness with Jamie for a reason, because I harken back to my first coaching job ever. Was 1 year of football at Bishop Girton High School, and on that staff was one Tom Bradley, who was fresh out of Lowell. I think I'm pretty sure that's where he played back in the day when they had football. Now, I had never met Tommy, and honest to God, bus rides with him and going to JV, I learned so much about football. Honest to God, he ate, drank, and slept football, and he's been doing it so long. But Thanksgiving week, BG used to play the old Nashua High School when there was one Nashua High School. So we get to, one of the practices the Monday of Thanksgiving week, and I see Tommy getting out of his car in full football uniform, shoulder pads, carrying his helmet, the whole thing. I'm like, buddy. He goes, I'm running the scout offense today. And honest to God, he laid some licks on those kids. All right. Watching Tommy, I mean, we were, early 20s, mid-20s, coaching with him. That Tewksbury toughness, the feeling of, he was playing against high school kids, but man, you could see the switch flipped, and he was Tom Bradley football player, and this is how you're supposed to play the game. And it was for a reason. He's trying to show these kids, this is what you have to do to pull off an upset on Thanksgiving. Yeah. This is how you have to play. But I was taken aback. The guy was such in love with the game of football. I mean, to be out there in uniform in his 20s, I was like, first of all, Tom, you're nuts, but this is awesome.
And I bet that's why Ronnie Druin feels right at home in Tewksbury.
Yeah, right.
Ronnie was the same way.
Yeah,
he was a tough player, tough coach, and the coaches in Tewksbury seem to just let them do their job without interfering or critiquing every little thing they say or every little thing they do. The kids' best interests are in their hearts, but you have to get them tough. You have to get them ready to.
That mystique is no mystique. It's for real.
Yeah,
It's,
no, I agree.
And
I agree.
it comes from way back.
By the way, okay, so just quick side question, because I was talking to this on the sideline Wednesday night with some Methuen guys. When is the last Thanksgiving Day alumni, friends, whatever it be, game that either one of you played in?
I don't think I ever did.
Never? No.
What do you mean?
Have you, just among friends, among alumni game gets together, everybody's juices get flowing. Everybody thinks that, like you're talking about Tommy Bradley.
By juices, he means vodka, I think.
Well, there's certainly vodka involved.
So you mean after high school?
Oh, yeah.
That I actually played football?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No?
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
Nope.
so I went back to South Portland, and we would always have like a game. I went back and played with some friends when I was 28. Tore my Achilles. That was the last time I ever played. It's like you still think everybody's still thinking they're 18. They're not, and touch football quickly turns into tackle, turns into Achilles ruptures. It was not fun. So yeah, to those who think they can still get out there and play touch football on Thanksgiving, just dial it back a notch. Your body will thank you. All right. So
This moment in time was brought to you by Luke Weekly and the
Oh man, I mean that's, gosh, I mean I've had some injuries, torn Achilles. Oh God, who somebody at Methuen went through. I think was it Perone? Somebody went through it. Oh, you know who it was? It was the solicitor went through it. During the year this year,
I did get invited for some men's basketball a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and I declined. I have a couple of bad knees and whatnot, and within 3 weeks of that, 2 of the people that had invited me tried to get me to go, both tore their Achilles.
Unreal.
So 35 and 40 years old, unless you're in top peak shape, just go to a game and support high school sports.
That's why I marvel at these cross-country alumni races, for instance.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, but those guys are maniacal anyways from the start. You know.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, come back. We'll talk a little North Andover, King Philip. Little on that. We'll talk about top performers. And we'll wrap up the show right after this on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. I love talking about my man Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
we were reliving some more of our past glories in the break here on
When you were on
MVC.
the field, did you hear this music? Did you hear
In my head, absolutely.
NFL films?
Oh
music?
yeah, always.
I'm pretty sure from our tag games over at the Sergeant School, there's still a plaque with my name on it over there from those days. As a matter of fact, I'm going right down the street to check it after this.
How many
Nice.
Hall of Fames are you in?
0. But other than that,
That's me in the Lawrence Reservoir. That's where all my
is that where it was?
all my tackle
Yeah.
football
It's left in the reservoir.
definitely left in the reservoir, along with a lot of other things.
All right, so we talked Tewksbury state championship preview a little bit. What's the word on King Philip and what North Andover has ahead of them?
Surprise, surprise, meat grinder. They play double tight, double wing an awful lot. They run the football a ton. Very tough, hard-nosed team. And I was looking it up. They had my man, I will figure the name, not Sam Callanan, but Halliday, Ryan Halliday. He's over 1,000-yard rusher, a $185 in their last game, beating on their win coming in. So they're going to be a very tough, physical, hard-nosed team, very hard-nosed opponent. They beat on the way in. They prepared. They beat a pretty good 7-4 team, Franklin.
Yep.
On the way in. This is King Philip of Rentham. Okay, by the way, just to let you guys know. Franklin was 7-3 coming in. They handled them pretty easily. So no, they don't have its hands full. Interesting. Playing Friday night, right? The marquee game, the doubleheader game on Friday night.
The 8 o'clock game?
7:30, right?
7:30, yeah.
Something like
And then
that.
Tewksbury's got the 6 o'clock game on Saturday.
On Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the dynamic of going down to Gillette Stadium and all that comes with that. Very impressed watching North Andover on Wednesday night at Andover. They took care of business. I think Darren said it. They wanted to get points on the board and get out of there. And they pretty much did that, up 34-0 in the third. John called off the Dogs at that point. He brought in the JV team at 34-0. I'm guessing he had some seniors who didn't play, too. He mixed in there.
Has North Andover had a close game? That's probably the one disadvantage in this sort of
How do
situation.
they handle that? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They've just been steamrolling. But they had battles with Central. They had a battle with Tewksbury for a while.
That's right. Those two were battles.
And so...
okay.
North Andover was very good, man. They're explosive.
Oh, yeah.
They are explosive.
Is that the first time you've seen them?
Yeah.
Were you
was exceptional.
impressed?
Just exceptional.
And you
with
only saw the top for the half.
But their speed kind of comes. It just leaps off the page,
So with what you're saying, though, based on Coach Dubinsky's, not a lot of his players play both ways, and that was surprising to me to hear that, to have kids that are playing at that elite level on both sides of the football. So if you are in a tight game, to be able to take some of your star athletes and say, okay, you're trained to play both sides of the ball. We're going to need you, especially in a meat grinder type game like that. That may also play as a huge advantage for North Andover.
Yeah, again, they have size and their speed on defense. We talk about Watson, McElroy, but I was very impressed with the two guys on the end. Is it Ferrulo and Mike Roach?
Yep.
And I want to say Sam Ferrulo, he's the Methuen guy, but it's the North Andover.
It's a different Ferrulo.
Yes. Coming off the edge, putting pressure on the other team, on the opposition from the edge. I'm very impressed with that. And they were stout inside. Their big guys inside, held up strong. There was nothing inside for Tommy Duncan to run inside at all against them. And
Stephen Ferrulo.
Yeah, Stephen Ferrulo, very good.
And even Central. I mean, Central's got a big line. They've got some solid running backs. And they couldn't run the ball either against North Andover.
And it could have been worse. I've been so nice to him, so I'll point out the bad. Jake threw a couple of bad balls for interceptions. One of them was a real bad decision
against Central.
No, I'm saying Wednesday night, but it was just. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever, and we'll go to the next play. And then he made a couple of really big plays. The little dump pass to Slattery he had was very, very a quality. Sold the great fake on the run. And
now his 10 for 18 passing, does that include your drop?
No, it does not include my drop.
Okay.
Only because that was on a PAT. You don't count those in the stats.
That's right.
Okay.
All right. 'Cause I don't want the kid being punished for.
No. And he saw me right away. I could tell he saw me right away and connected. And to let him down like that is something I'll never forget. Dropping that ball on the sideline, but he made several big plays. Even the first TD, I think it was on a 4th and 5, 4th and 6 type of play, and I think Andover had no thought that they were going to throw deep like that. But it was a terrific play call from the North Andover staff, and he hit Darren on the run in perfect stride. It was a great 4th down play that kind of just set the tone for the night. I think Andover thought, hey, we got him stopped. It's 4th and 5 at the 25. We got him. And then that was that. And then just the speed just took its toll. Roach had a big play on the big sack on the first series, and then the punt, and D'Souza went untouched, and then another 3 and out, and Darren went untouched, and it was over early.
Now, all three of us are guilty for saying that we think North Andover is the best team in the state.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
None of us have ties, so there's no jinx here.
Right.
How important is it for them, for the state championship, to win solidly, to be able to kind of make that claim that, hey, it doesn't matter what division we are, we're the best team in the state?
I don't think they're ever going to be able to lay that claim just because there's the Division I bias. Yeah. So they could wipe the floor with King Philip, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they'll get that respect. There'll always be you play Division II tag on it.
I wonder, though, some of these guys that have been making the cases for everybody else around the state, the Matt Felds, the Dannys, the Joe Perello, getting all these teams in Gillette, kind of getting to see somewhat apples on apples.
Yeah,
bit,
right.
I'll be curious to see the reactions coming out.
Look, they're impressive to see. You can put up all the numbers you want. The outrageous sabermetrics points differential, blah 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 blah. But you see North Andover, you go, wait a minute, this is a different level. They're fast, and they're it all jumps out at you. This is not a team that's beaten bad teams. This is a team that is dissected good teams handily. So
with power, with speed, with passing,
it shows right away. I mean, on the field, you don't. Once you watch them, you go, oh boy, now you know why they're so good.
So is it a reward for Friday night? Is what's the deal on that? A lot of people were tweeting out, oh, they should have been playing right after the Division I, type of thing. How does that work?
I guess when you play so many games, so many championship games, somebody has to suffer, and if you're going to open up the stadium and pay I want to say there was a figure that it's something like $100,000 to open the doors of the place, to flip on the lights, basically, that you want to sell some tickets, and the Division II game should be a draw. So if you put the Division 7 and 8 game on Friday night,
you're not going to get enough to even come close.
So I think that plays into a little bit.
$100,000 to turn on the lights.
Something like that.
Where do they make it back on concessions? Where are they making it back?
No.
Or aren't they making it back? Do they just eat it?
See, I don't know all the facts, Tim, about this. I know back in the day when they first started this, Bob Kraft picked up the whole tab.
That's what I mean.
And then, and said, the place is yours. Bring your officials in, pay your own people. We'll take care of the security and all that. It's on us.
No more of that.
Then I want to say it was 5, 6, 7 years ago, I had heard $3 a ticket right off the top goes to the stadium itself. Sold. Tickets are like $17 and $15 now, I believe, or something like that. So I'm sure the Crafts are still...
Well, the whole televising is all on them.
Yes, right. So, they're still to be commended for this.
Say that again?
Okay.
I did read somewhere
that Kraft TV.
Kraft TV is producing and all that, and there's no cost to...
So there is by no means am I impugning the Patriots here. They still do plenty for this event, okay? But it's not a moneymaker by any stretch, Tim. Nobody's making any money on this.
Yeah.
This is
and it should be. It's a
celebration for the kids.
I was more curious when you said the $100,000 turn on the light.
Yeah.
I was more curious of how much money are they losing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's in there.
Yeah.
There's a number in there. There is certainly a cost to it, and like I said, the
how much
Patriots were the
how much is a memory worth?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Again, I think back to some of the games I've covered, Greater Lawrence going down there and Central going down there, and it's quite the experience. I know people say, "Oh, look, it's empty," and nobody, well, we don't have a 10,000 seat facility that's a state of the art facility. I was up at the New Hampshire title games at UNH. That's a great take. They have a big jumbotron, and the New Hampshire Scholastic Athletic Association didn't allow them to show replays of plays because they were afraid that the officials might have been second-guessed watching things like that. At Foxborough, you score a TD, you look up and watch yourself, and it's like the greatest thing in the world, And I'm sure you're, I've seen everybody takes photos of yourself on the not from the field.
Part of the experience.
Yeah, it's like.
I just think about the Methuen and Tewksbury girls hockey team going to the Garden.
Yeah.
How incredible that was.
Yeah.
I found myself watching more the Jumbotron.
Oh, yeah.
Because of how
can you not, right? Yeah. I mean, honest to God, Bill, it's so.
But by the way, that was one of the best parts of it. Coach Ryan got caught on the Jumbotron, big balloon face on the Jumbotron during one of those downtime segments, intermission segments.
For a kid, that's so cool. Doing that, and the Pats do it right. They have their luncheon with the captains and the coaches, and Andre Tippett comes down and greets all the kids, and
they're doing each week. They do a coach of the week.
Oh yeah, they're all over the state. They're all over the state.
Don't get me going on that. I was the one who called them out on the fact that Tippett never came above Boston for like 3 years on that. It was always a South Shore coach. Then he came up to Haverhill and asked me about it one time when they came up to Haverhill. I thought you said I never come up here. And I was like, So you're still a black belt, right, Andre? Yeah, maybe I'll... But no, they do a great job with that program. It gets that, I think Central Catholic won it this year. Tewksbury's won it in the past. I think I said Haverhill won it. North Andover's won it. So... it's a cool program.
I smell Coach Ryan winning it for this past week.
We'll see.
Big week, right? Big week. And,
All right, the good segue into the top performers. We got a lot of them today. A lot of good wins on Thanksgiving. Connor Bryant, 31 carries, disputed on the yardage. I got it at 85. The Trib had it at 85. Lowell had it. The Drake folks had it a little bit about above 100, but whatever it was a yeoman-like effort. It was a blue collar, gutty effort from the QB.
I'm guessing the Lowell guy was using the pro method of not counting sack yardage against Connor, or maybe that was it.
Perhaps.
With the pros, that goes to team passing yardage negative as opposed to the college where he loses the yards in rushing, so that might have been it.
It was not a passing night, so there was not a ton of but he still did get some good passes in. Still got a TD throw to Kareem Coleman. Ricky Brutus came back. We talked about him a lot during the early part of the season. Came back strong on Thanksgiving, 7 carries, 123 yards. Again, some highlight type runs. The kid's got amazing talent. 2 touchdowns. Alan French, to see him in person, the Drake running back, 15 carries, 101 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches, 26 yards. Just a beast.
Have to interject. How good was he at linebacker? Everybody talks about him playing at linebacker. Do you have a big game there? Or?
We actually were having
2 open mouths over there.
Some tackling.
Can somebody, instead of you guys counting your fantasy points, can you please watch defense?
Some tackles missed, but when you're playing both sides of the ball and you're running, for 15 carries, 101 yards, and you don't come off the field,
hard to take too much against him.
He's a man.
Yes.
Says the guy whose kid averaged 2.7 yards a carry over there. Picking on the Drake and missed tackles. All right, Bill. All right.
No. That was a tough night offensively. Lambert was not.
Oh, yeah. I'm kidding you, obviously.
The wind was it was not a night to be throwing sideline slants. Cam McCullough, 70 all-purpose yards, 20-yard touchdown catch for Jake McElroy, 10 for 18, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I happen to know those yardage numbers are accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm letting you guys
Right
know
on,
that.
right on.
The guy who did those
And
was on his
he was
game.
all right.
Which stats do you use for that? The college or the?
H-O-F.
I go with college. Do the college roll.
Darren Watson, great comeback. He's been fighting some injuries, and he was everywhere in this game. Seven catches, 117 yards, touchdown receiving, 88-yard punt return, touchdown, 12-yard interception return, touchdown.
Yes,
I didn't write the TD there, but yeah. Gabe D'Souza, 82-yard punt return touchdown, 31-yard one rush.
That was a fake punt.
Yeah.
That he ran for 31 on. Yeah.
Wow. Now we mentioned Victor Harrington, Andover.
Hector was there. Why don't we let him talk about the next couple of stats?
Do that. Start there.
So Victor Harrington threw for 266. Threw a lot of passes. A lot of passes in the second half. He had more than 2 TDs. He threw 4 TDs, didn't he?
Did he?
I want to say 4, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because my man Zelinskis had 7 for 126 with 3. Yes, and he threw another one to Moody. So, he had 4 TD passes. Yeah, great second half for him. Like I said, they were down 34-0. A lot of the numbers came against non-starters, but we have to remember that Victor is a freshman, a good-looking freshman who showed a ton of poise on a night where he got beat up a little bit.
First half.
As I said, he got knocked around a little bit. They never pulled no punches defensively. They went after him, and they got him a little bit, and he showed a lot of poise to hang around, and it was good to see in the second half. He did some damage. Nick Zelinskis, a senior, captain, 7 for $126 and the 3 TDs. Again, it was great, as I said to EJ after the game, great to see a kid like that go out. You can see he pours his heart into it on both sides. Brendan Moody, the little guy, 3 for 95 and a TD, 3 big catches. And over at the Lowell game, Lowell beat Haverhill 24-8. 10-8 game until Brendan Ty got busy and got into it. 161 yards rushing, 2 TDs, and a TD pass to Dominic Felice. Added 2 catches, 33 yards. Like I said, I think we spoke earlier about the year he had. He's been amazing.
Absolutely.
And Ty is also that lacrosse player we talked about a couple weeks ago as well. I know you love that sport.
Yeah, just couldn't hit the curveball, huh?
Just so excited to get another lacrosse reference in. Thanks.
Joe Santoro of Haverhill, 20-yard TD pass to Devin Cunningham on gadget/trick/Tewksbury play. And then there was the Lowell defense. One of the kids I think we talked to this year, Brian Callery, who honestly, give him credit for being Pat's kid and surviving.
That's Lowell toughness right there.
Yes. Justin Villanueva, Rashawn Settles, Feliz, Louis Cadine, Ty Chan, Phoenix Keth, Darren Div, and Joey Orlando had a big interception late in the end zone, late in the first half to stop a scoring threat. That was a big win for Lowell. I would have picked Haverhill in that game.
Absolutely.
We didn't do picks. I would have picked Haverhill.
And that makes Lowell 6-5. Gets them over the 500 mark. So.
All right, Tim, it's on you.
Nope, back to Bill. We'll go to Bill on this.
Where are we going next?
Page 2.
I only have 1 page. Oh, here we go, right here.
So two pieces of paper.
That second piece of paper would be page 2.
Six different players scored. Shane Allward, Jack Kelly, Kyle Dorigo, Connor Brinklow, and Tyler Keogh. Names we've been talking about all year. Brian Allward, coach, 150th win. Program taking over for his dad, Bob, not taking over as the best coach, but taking over the program from his dad. Shane Allward, another kid all season, tough when you're the coach's son. Broke single-season reception record with 50, breaking longtime assistant coach Tommy Bradley record. And that was a cool little picture, having them together after the game. That's one of those moments you'll remember for a long time. Connor Nugent, who Jamie Pote talked about from Tewksbury, blocked punt, recovered an end zone for a TD. Aiden Gordon from Central Catholic, 100 yards passing. So he's a senior.
Got to interject here.
Senior, yeah.
How about Chuck Adamopoulos stepping up and playing the kid? Dedicated kid to the program, lost his job to Silverio, and Chuck plays in the bulk of the snaps in this game.
Classy.
Class move right
Getting
there.
those seniors in, that's all class.
Honest to God. Let's step up.
Because I was, listening to Twitter, and I wasn't hearing Silverio's name, the Thuin kid, and I'm like, and it dawned on me that this kid was a senior, and that's a big time.
I gotta give
big
Chuck
time
credit
class
for that.
move.
Total class.
Absolutely. AJ Caginelli, Central Catholic, 130 all-purpose yards, 2 TDs, 53 yards, touchdown catch, and a 58-yard TD run. And then Haushin, who we talked about, ended up getting the Mike Sullivan MVP of the Game award, 65-yard TD run, block punt, resulting in the safety. It's always good to have a kid who was injured early on finish strong like that. Your senior year, you don't want to see someone sit out. Brandon Santel from Lawrence, who's been stepping up. 1-yard TD run, voted Lawrence's Robert Fitzgerald MVP for the Game award, which is, both those awards are pretty big for that rivalry. Kevin Hennessy, as we talked about, Hector brought the whole field goal kicker importance to the show this year. 2 field goals, 29 and 33, finished their career with over 100 points scored, and a huge Chelmsford win, 6-0 over Barica, which once again shocked me. I would not have guessed that. I thought that would have been a little bit more of a route the other way. Cam D'Angelo from Chelmsford, fumble recovery, game-ending interception in Lions end zone. And Chris Vecchione, 19 carries, 61 yards, fumble recovery, one of the 4 turnovers forced by Chelmsford. Chris Rabias from Chelmsford, quarterback, had 51 yards passing and 32 yards rushing. And Rob Moore from Barica got over the century mark with 25 carries. They
we didn't talk about the breakdown on the Chelmsford game too much, but Billerica they started deep in their own zone with about 1:50 to go in the game and drove it right down the field, and 1 second to go. Houlihan's got to throw into the end zone, and that, like we mentioned, Cam D'Angelo picked it off in the end zone to preserve the win. But Bill Ricca didn't stop fighting either. So even
6-0 neither team.
Yeah, absolutely. So a great week of Thanksgiving football. Just a lot of top performance all over the place. Final thoughts, guys, as we head into. So we're going to do one more show next week. We will do it on Sunday, with the Super Bowl games, the state championship games. Friday night is the North Andover King Philip. Saturday night. Now, we talk about Craft TV doing the games. Where are those available?
Is it
PBS or is it where is it?
No, I thought it was Central. Not Central.
It's been Comcast.
Comcast Central, yeah.
Sportsnet.
NBC Sports Boston. Yeah. Okay.
They change their name every 5 weeks.
Yeah. Right. So. Yeah. So we'll get to see them, and then we will come back on Sunday, talk about those 2 games, and we'll talk. Listen, we're still trying to figure out the whole All-Star thing. It's our first year doing the show.
Maybe informal. We go with those top members.
Yeah, exactly.
Top guys.
Yeah.
Top moments, whatever.
Absolutely.
Like
but we'll definitely do a season wrap-up and give some love to a lot of the top performers. We talk about a lot of the ones that we don't talk about. Been a fun fall. Been a fun fall doing the show. It's been great to see how well the show has been received.
Not a bad year to start it with 2 of the MVC teams in the
I was going to say,
state championship games.
When we talked about this way back in the summer, we thought it could be a bad year in the league, right? And it turned out to be a spectacular year, event-wise, game-wise,
Moments,
moment-wise. I mean, and well represented in 2 state title games here. Yeah,
absolutely.
Something I don't think anybody expected.
And when you see Drake taking out Marblehead, you see Methuen giving Acton Boxborough everything they had. You got a lot of strong representation all over in every division.
Yeah, the league stepped up. We weren't sure. I don't think anybody was sure. Back in August, and all of a sudden,
it kind of goes to the point that the MVC is a pretty strong conference year in and year out.
Yeah.
The only for me, one of my concerns is the false news that was put out the other day about some breakfast sandwich being the best sandwich around. I think you might have tweeted that out or something, which is just.
Honestly, it was as good as I've ever had on Thanksgiving Day.
It was a little shocking because I know the one that I had, gotten prepared with Chef Ranger Paul.
Oh, that's right. You put it out.
Was pretty good. So if you would have, tried a few more throughout the state, I would have, we would have supported that. But, a little premature.
I'm telling you right now, they did a great job at Masco with the breakfast sandwich.
That's a homer pick. Homer
Cannot
pick.
tell a lie, honestly.
So
it was
egg cheese. Like what made it so special?
It was on a buttermilk biscuit that
Was it
to
free
die
to you?
for.
Is that why it was so
It
special?
was free to me too. Hey, I was working
That just
hard.
sealed the
taking-
deal.
I was working hard taking tickets that day. Let me tell you. So
That was good. Wednesday night was the award. Tuesday night was the awards for Methuen High School.
Okay.
They do it at their auditorium. I'm sitting there, and I get a text from somebody letting me know that 9 o'clock that night they would decide whether Methuen was going to play the Thursday morning or Wednesday. And I said, that's awesome, because I just finalized the deal for the 300 eggs, the 300 English muffins, cheese, and Canadian bacon that afternoon. So we had a little breakfast for dinner at Methuen
There
High
you go.
Wednesday night. So
Oh, they still rocked it.
No, they did all right. They did okay.
Those
you
were
went Canadian
delicious.
bacon, huh, Bill?
yeah.
Interesting.
Delicious.
Interesting.
Hey, real quick shout out to the Methuen Pop Warner, the C team. Huge win. EMAS state champion. You talk about the local rivalries and where they all begin, and where the Pop Warner programs around here are just off the charts in terms of participation, in terms of the quality of coaching, the learning the fundamentals, getting these kids excited about football from the get-go. Methuen goes to Billerica, down for most of the game.
Down 16-6
Yeah.
with 4 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
Barica throws a pass. Intercepted for a touchdown. Onside kick.
Was that a fourth? It was on fourth. Like there was
it
a
a
big
fourth down?
sack on third down, and then he throws a pass on 4th and 12.
Pick 6, and then onside kick, recover, another score to win the game, to go undefeated to now. And they're in some sort of a Hall of Fame bowl. They're going to New Jersey. Had a big
They're gonna be at a
fundraiser.
tournament. Yeah.
Had a big fundraiser, raised enough money to get the whole team. And this is one of the things that I love about Methuen is they've had some success for the last few teams. They've always been the max number. Back in the day, you'd have a team of 18 kids, 19 kids, all stud athletes. Methuen's bringing 35 kids. There's minimum plays that everybody has to play. So they're not only carrying, their elite players, but they're also maxing out the roster, which is pretty cool.
I was throwing just a slight bit of shade to the Billerica Pop Warner folks. I said that if they won, I would wear my green MVC Gridiron Weekly shirt to the show. As you can see, I'm not. I'm so. Thank you, Methuen, for pulling it out.
You have a green one?
I got one shirt, and I didn't want to look like him, so I didn't wear it today because I didn't want to go Bobsy Twins with Gray and Gray. So, but we'll work on that, Bill. We'll work on that.
There's a lot of things to work on.
No, definitely.
We're going to work on the merch. And listen, but so many of you actually like the logo and liked our graphics that we're talking about doing some merch. We'll see. We'll see if it goes anywhere. So certainly, I got to still working on the I Agree with Lou shirt from our other shows.
Yeah, no.
So
I like that.
Not
I
much
agree
of a
with
market
Lou.
for that.
little niche market, especially when you get the
Anybody going down Friday or Saturday?
That is still up in the air right now, Bill.
TBD.
Yeah.
Let me know, because I have a friend that's invited me out a bunch of times, and Jimmy and I have not connected for the last 5 years, and now that things are settling down in my life, I know he's from North Andover, and there's a good chance Jimmy Saccariccio and I might go down Friday night. So if you guys are deciding, I'd love to have one of us at each day, covering each of the two teams. So.
And you were thinking Saturday?
I'm thinking Friday for the
You're
North
thinking Friday.
Andover game.
Okay. All right. We will work that out.
Can I get a press pass, by the way?
We'll work on.
Big hint there. First of all, there are no MIAA press passes.
No.
They put up the sign that says we're only accepting MIAA press passes. 30 years of doing this, I've never seen one. So that's a
misnomer.
It's like a unicorn.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. Act like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm from MVC Gridiron Weekly. They'll let you in. You just act as long as you're pompous enough, Bill. Can you be pompous
That's
enough?
tough. That's going to be tough.
If you
It's gonna be tough.
You're too nice a guy.
I've walked into Disney for
arrogant.
free.
Be arrogant.
God.
He's
I wanna hear that story.
taking down Mickey Mouse. He can taking down the mouse. All right. Huge shout out to the fans throughout the season. Like we said, we got one more week and then we pivot. We're talking about doing a basketball show. Want to continue hearing it from you? Like, do you want to see a basketball show? I've heard from a lot of folks that do it. Why not? Why we wouldn't do it? Listen, we're always looking for sponsors. So if you're interested in sponsoring the Winter Hoop Show, 978-683-8800 is the number to call, and we will get you in the mix. Final thoughts?
I'm ready to go. Last Saturday coming up. All the titles to be solved. State title games. I'm glad we put Thanksgiving past us, and I'm glad I'm finally thawed out from the cold.
Yeah. Yeah. So do we talk Central in the MVC next week? Are we talking about playoff system next week? What are we doing?
Bring on the controversy. I'm all for it.
All right.
Bill wants to talk depth at Central Catholic, I think.
Bill, final thoughts, yeah?
No, just everyone that's watched the show, enjoyed the show, thank you. And it's been fantastic, and at times strange with having my kid kind of in the mix playing, but, all of the...
Your kid plays?
Didn't even know it. You wouldn't know it.
Hey, remember the sign you gave me at the game the other night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stat sign, yeah.
The stat sign,
right after the show, you give them okay, fair enough. So, hey, we got the show off the ground, and so there's a lot more things we want to do. Just given the reception of the show, folks, some of the things that we were thinking about early on in terms of wondering, we kind of backed off of it, just kind of trying to build the hype. Great start. We thank you all for it very much, and it's been a great season. Hoping to cap it off with a couple of state championship wins. One way or the other, we will talk about that next Sunday. So next Sunday, 10 a.m. I will do a Thanksgiving MVP on Twitter a little bit later today. We'll put that up on Twitter at MVC Gridiron Week. We'll get some thoughts from the guys after the show on who should be up. Lou?
Yes, sir.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Happy holiday. Huge thank you to you for all the work that you do each week in pulling this.
It's fun. You guys are doing a great job.
All right. For Bill Bryant, Lou Blasi, the Hall of Famer, Hector Longo, Tim Wood. Huge thank you to our listeners, to our viewers. Catch it on demand throughout the week on Twitter, Periscope, on Facebook, and we will see you next Sunday, 10 a.m.
And watch last week's show. I know those are the lowest numbers we've had all year with me not on there, but please tune into last week as well.
Yeah, we got to get those numbers up.
Those numbers up.
Yeah.
I don't want Hector feeling bad about himself.
Fair enough. You gonna let that go?
Yeah, I'll let it go.
All right,
it's all good.
That's a holiday miracle.
I was so tough on him earlier. I deserve it.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. We will talk to you next Sunday on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.